Hello everyone, I've got some important topics for you today. We're going to make this a two-parter, and I'm filming in my office today, and I haven't really been able to film up here because it's been a little too cold. There's a lofty ladder thing over there. Let's get to it. So first of all, I am not affiliated with Immigrations. This is information that I have researched and found through official English and Japanese sites and personal experience, and also a one-time job that I had at Haneda Airport where they were explaining the process to potential new employees, potential new immigrations officers. And I learned a lot from that experience, so I wanted to show you. And this is about Japan, but a lot of this information pertains to other countries as well. So I'm just going to kind of scratch the surface here and give you a basic overview for your trip. So going through customs and passport control is usually pretty boring, but it's usually a smooth process. And it's a breeze compared to most of the US airports that I've been to in recent years. You know, make sure that you have everything in order, and if you do and everything, the timing is right and everything, I've actually, when I've been at Narita Airport, which is the other major airport here in Tokyo, I've been from the plane onto my train home, so from plane to train, in less than 20 minutes. There are passport checks in the airport. Police will stop you and they will ask you for your passport or residence card, whatever the case may be, and they'll collect your name and all of your information, your phone number and your address and your reason for Japanning and all of that stuff. And it does take a while, so it might impede on your travel plans. The checks are random-ish. Some common reasons for interrogations and eventual deportations are no passport or a lost or stolen passport. Obviously, they will have a hard time trying to process you if you don't have this critical piece of information for them. Another reason is visa processing is incomplete. So when you start the visa process, which is a visa is essentially your permission to be in Japan, sometimes people will get confused and start the process, but it's not finalized by the time they come to Japan. So they are leaving their home country and coming into Japan without a confirmed visa. So before you come out here, make sure that your visa, all of the processing has been complete. Overstaying visas. This is the number one reason for deportations, is that you do not have a proper visa or you violate the terms of your visa. So just because you get one, there are restrictions within that. So for example, if you have an instructor visa, if you're doing outside of that, like you take a job with bartending, you may actually be violating the terms of your visa. You have to get special permission to do other jobs. And they could stop you at the airport, or they could actually stop you at your home or in the city where you're living in. So don't do that. Follow your visa. So another reason is a criminal record. Even if you're on probation and even if those priors are very, very prior. There have been famous cases of celebrities being deported, including Paris Hilton got deported because she was in the middle of some drug charges at the time. Paul McCartney years ago tried to bring in marijuana and he was deported for about 10 years, I think. And also Russell Brand was deported because he had drug charges that were not very recent at all. Refugees, asylum seekers, and human trafficking victims, you need special permission to get in, and that is really hard to get. Re-entry permits. This is not such a big deal anymore because they're kind of built into your residence card. But before, when you went back to visit another country, you had to get a re-entry permit, which is basically permission to come back into Japan and resume your visa. And finally, bringing in drugs or weapons or anything that the government would deem dangerous. I've heard that this could possibly include pornography, also alleged ties to terrorism and protesting because of security reasons. So don't bring in drugs and don't do terrorism. That's a paddling. Interrogations will take a long time. For the one that I witnessed, it was, I saw a mock interrogation, and I also saw a real one that was happening in the other room nearby. For the real one, the person's travel partner was allowed in the room, and all of their carry-on items were still with them. This does depend on the severity of the situation, of course. You may be in there alone without your belongings or travel partners. You're taken into a small room outside of passport control. Haneda Airport is very new. The international terminal is brand new. It's very clean. It's very nice. With the rooms that I saw for interrogation, it's a very simple, plain room with a desk and a chair. Nothing fancy at all. Maybe a visitor's chair. And there is an observation window, so that would basically be behind you. So if you wanted to, you could actually look outside and see the person, or you can see the hallway. And it's not a mirror. So basically it's the immigrations officer, yourself, and possibly your travel partners if they're there, and the interpreter is on the phone. My advice is to utilize the interpreter even if your Japanese is really good, because any slight nuance can really cost you. So I would say, if you're proficient in Japanese, just focus on expressing yourself as clearly as possible, but monitor what the interpreter says. And if there's a problem, then you can go from there. I would also recommend taking notes if possible. They'll start off by asking very basic questions, and the immigrations officer will have the interpreter run a test with you. It's kind of like getting used to a polygraph. Then they'll start asking you the serious questions. This will take a long time, and it may affect your travel plans, so you may have to rearrange. Make sure that you can do backup travel plans. The airports are really good with making accommodations for travel plans. There's a lot of people who can speak English in the airport, so I don't think that would be too much of a deal if you do get stopped. Make sure that you have as much information as possible. Interrogations they're trying to get information from you. So make sure that you have as much information on you as possible. The address for where you're staying, particular destinations, hotel, confirmation numbers, all of that, phone numbers, everything. The more you have, the better. And of course, it really helps if you know somebody in Japan, especially if they're a Japanese national. And remember, they are doing this because they need information. They don't get some sick pleasure out of, taking people into interrogation rooms. They need to verify these things because it's their liability, it's their responsibility, it's their job. But this is actually making more work for them when these things don't go as smoothly. An interrogation sounds scary, but they're trying to get information from you. If things get really bad to the point where a deportation order comes up, you'll have a hearing. And that will usually be in about 3 days after all of this. Or it might be immediate, depending on the severity of it. I believe you'll be given quarantine accommodations or a hotel on the site of the airport if you're lucky, but basically you're not going to be able to leave the area. There is a process for appeals, and it's very difficult, and it's worded a little bit vaguely. I found that the American Embassy in Japan has a pretty clear basic rundown of the process, so I'll leave that link in the description box below. So if deported, the person won't be able to come back for at least a year, but possibly 5 or 10 years, or if it's really serious, a lifetime. So dealing with bureaucrats and dealing with this kind of process, I found some words by fellow YouTuber and longtime Japan resident Hikosaemon to be an extremely accurate take on the process. I've spent many years in Japan here dealing with regulatory authorities in Japan through work and immigration, and I have never once met a single bureaucrat who I considered to be enjoying wielding arbitrary discretionary power in a way that is common with bureaucrats in Western countries. What it all comes down to is seikinin, or responsibility. Processing is long and tedious, but it is also rigidly by the book. You always know where you stand, and you don't have to deal with people on power trips. And where there is difficulty or awkwardness, like visa troubles or special paperwork, usually a bit of politeness and being apologetic for the trouble you are causing is all that is needed to ensure a smooth outcome. I would follow his advice. I think that is solid advice. Here are some extra tips that I have in dealing with these kinds of situations or avoiding them to begin with. The first one, double check all the rules and confirm with your local embassy or consulate. This especially pertains to medicines, and I will talk about that in another video. Make sure that your visa is confirmed and cleared and good to go. And if you have any questions, it's okay. I mean, you'd rather be that person who asked a question that bothered somebody and be able to go through the process smoothly. So I'd say ask away. The second thing is to know somebody in Japan. Have your destination address handy and have a purpose. Now, sometimes when you're traveling, you can't really know people in Japan, but just try to make sure that your travel plans are very, very clear. The third thing is to get everything in writing, including the name of the officials that you talk to and the date and time. And this may seem like overkill, but it could help out. The next thing is to be honest. And you're gonna get in so much more trouble when they find out. Respect the laws and etiquette of other countries. I think that includes doing your research beforehand. Always have your passport with you, or your residence card, or both. So if you're just traveling to Japan, you probably will not get a residence card unless you are here long term. So make sure that you have your passport on you pretty much at all times. And have a look at the links below in the description box for more information. And finally, if you have any questions, let me know. And you can take one of my consultations on coming to Japan, which I do exclusively through Cafetalk.com. There's no fee to sign up through Cafetalk.com. You just pay for the lessons that you take, and that's it. So all of my information for that are in the links below in the description box as well. And don't be bashful. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help. Yeah. Okay, now the sun is going down, so I think that's time to wrap this up. But thank you for watching, and I will be putting up a kind of sister video with this about medicine and bringing medicines into Japan. So be sure to use these two videos together, and have a wonderful trip. And don't worry about a thing. Just do your homework and make sure that everything is in order, and I'm sure that you'll have a smooth trip. Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to like this video and share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel. And if you would like a lucky box from Japan with all kinds of cool stuff, please check my Patreon. Thank you for watching.